Halloween killer is still out there.
Everyone is scared. He's a murderer.
He's a monster.
He's perfect.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering the animated phenomenon of Netflix's Nimona movie.
Yes, this movie was originally Blue Sky Studios' final movie before Disney bought the company and shut down the project and Blue Sky. However, the movie found a new studio to animate the story to life, and it definitely paid off.
Yes, and before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification button to some future podcasts and multiple pause videos.
Absolutely. So quickly, Nimona is a 2023 American computer-animated sci-fi fantasy adventure comedy film.
That's a lot.
So it's a new release exclusively on Netflix, directed by Nick Bruno and Troy Quayne, from a screenplay by Robert L. Bade and Lloyd Taylor, and it's based on the 2015 graphic novel the same name, which we covered yesterday. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, go ahead and give it a watch. It should be coming up. It's set in a sci-fi world influenced by the Middle Ages, and the film features the voices of Chloe Grace Moretz as the titular character, and Riz Ahmed as her partner, and former Knight with Eugene Lee Yang and Francis Conroy voicing supporting roles.
Yes. And if you just heard our Nimona review for the book itself, we told you how much we absolutely loved the story. It was a huge surprise for us, considering we had no idea who this character was or even this book existed. And now we understood why there was such excitement for the movie, and seeing how the story was originally going to just be lost and now it's been brought out, and for everyone's critical acclaim, has been dubbed as one of Netflix's best movies of the summer.
Now, we did mention in the podcast for the comic that the movie's totally different.
It is.
You
yes.
have Nimona's name being the same,
Yeah.
but she's not really the same character. Her powers are similar. Blackheart becomes Boldheart.
Yeah.
Golden Loin stays Golden Loin, but he looks and acts totally different. So he's
Yes.
really a different character.
Technically,
and the
yes.
storyline is different than in the comic.
Right. So the story in the book was that Nimona takes up a job offer from Ballister Blackheart, which is his original name, and he's a villain, and she wants to work for him and cause some chaos and things in the kingdom. And on top of that, they found this conspiracy of why people were getting sick in the kingdom rapidly, and what were these people preparing for with war. In this movie, they decided to abandon those plots altogether. The new plot is that they take the plot from when Ballister accidentally lost his arm during a practice battle with Golden Loin. And that's how they had a falling out in the book. However, in here, this time in the movie, he's actually not only loses his arm in here again, he's also framed for killing the queen. There is no king in here, it's now a queen. And it happens live on TV, and they believe he fired a weapon and killed her on the spot. So now he's a fugitive on the run, and Nimona thinks he's a villain, but he's not. And she ends up working together with him to clear his name. And the weirdest part about this is that this all happens in about 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
Not over months like the book. 2 days. Like, wow, you have a busy life.
So, yeah, they got it fast-paced, and Nimona's powers are different from in the book, and her eyes glow, so you know she's going to shape-shift. What I did like about the book is you didn't know, and it was a surprise. But for more effect, I can understand why the eyes glow.
Right.
Now, Rascal told me how Chloe Moretz ended up doing this character.
Yes.
It's a really interesting story. So tell us how she gained this part and why it's so important to Indy.
Right. Well, apparently Nimona was based off of Chloe's role as Hit Girl from the Kick-Ass movies. And she was so inspired that she made Nimona's personality like hers when she was in about the first movie. And it was so great. She really loved the character. She loved the movie so much that when it came to the movie, they actually had the real kick-ass girl, Hit Girl, voice Nimona in the movie. So she's actually voiced by the character she's been inspired by.
Yes.
So that's actually one of the coolest things about this movie.
Definitely. And the story is really fast-paced. It doesn't take time to develop storylines, but it works for the movie. It absolutely works. The fast-pacedness, you get into the groove of it, and you get used to it probably about after maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
For us, it was kind of a shock because we really were expecting it to be like the book. But once we realized it wasn't, then we decided to appreciate it for what it is,
right,
instead of comparing it to the comic.
Right. And that did happen a lot in the movie because maybe for ones who have read the book so much, they kind of came as a surprise that it was different. And we did not keep up with the news of the movie so much, so maybe people were already aware that this was a different take rather than being one-to-one. And they also said that this was meant to be more sympathetic, more heartfelt, more emotional rather than just craziness, the thriller, the mystery and stuff. The NG and others kind of didn't want to do that for the movie adaptation because now the movie's being made in 2022 and 2023. They wanted the story to be more for the queer representation for the audience, and it was more of a movie for the LGBTQ audience. And the changes in Nimona's character and storyline is that she's been outcasted. In the book, she was experimented on and causing the shapeshifting is why she was an outcast. However, in here, you don't really get a clear explanation of how the powers work anymore. You're kind of just guessing at this point or going by something that was said. She claims she made a wish and wishing well, she got her powers, and they kind of leave it cut and dry. And it actually had an interesting backstory where she was friends with the woman who's named after the town that they're in. And when it comes to this point where it looks like everybody's turning to Nimona, rather than being more angry or violent because they're hurting other people, it's more of the emotional hurt rather than a physical hurt. And there's a point in the movie where it has just as emotional as a climax where they're hurting her in the black dragon form, which doesn't look like a dragon anymore, but that's what they went with. And this was more for the viewers who felt the place in Nimona's shoes, where they felt like they were outcast or hurt or judged and things. And that was more of the intention of the movie. The ones who felt like they didn't belong, they had a place and they're here to stay with this movie.
So to me, it was more of a drama than a comedy.
Yeah.
Very much more of a drama based on the things that you said.
Right.
It had more of a serious tone over more of the story.
Yes.
And there seemed to be a goal of making points and statements to the audience.
Right.
And so it was a little different again, and we decided again to appreciate it for what it is.
Right.
And what it's offering. It did end the same way as the comic ends.
Right. But actually a little bit better because of, as you said, you were hoping for more, but they kind of leave it up in the air and it's sort of bittersweet. I do like the change they did at the end where it was more like Monsters, Inc., where it's like you think in one thing, but there's going to be more even if you don't see more. Though that could open the door up for a sequel to the movie that was never done for the comic. So that's still... there's still possibilities to happen.
Right. And we did mention that the characters, besides Nimona, are different. Golden Loin is really different.
Completely,
a totally
yes.
different personality, looks and everything. And because of that change, plus Blackheart's change to becoming Boldheart, you really got a whole different story, a whole different dynamic between them.
Right.
And had to kind of figure out more of what was going on between them versus in the book you really got a whole lot of backstory. There wasn't
everything
as much
was there
in the movie, so you really had to kind of pick up things here and there to understand what was going on between those characters and their relationship. Well, you say Boldheart's relationship with Nimona.
Right.
Because in this one, you really don't see a whole lot of scenes between Golden Loin and Nimona.
Right. Yeah, and it was a little odd at first because we were expecting more scenes of that since they show there is a lot of time passing, especially when they expose the director of the institution. But they kind of do just some quick cuts where they're just kind of dancing and hanging out and things. Now they think that they've won, and that's a great thing. But it was a little too fast, and that would be the only thing. It was a little fast. It was great they were getting along, but we would like for them to slow it down a little bit to show more of the development and talking. One scene they did keep in, which I'm really glad they did, is when they played the board game to show them getting closer. And they kept it line for line where they're playing Monopoly. She owes him $600. She don't want to pay. It starts with a bill, and he said, I'm taking the $600 anyway. She burns up the board. It happens exactly the same, and they kept the lines in. I'm really happy about that. That was one of my favorite scenes in the book, and they kept it in. I was happy about that.
Yes.
As for, as you said, with Boldheart now in Golden Loin, while you saw in the book they had a falling out where Golden Loin was still pining after, Blackheart in the book, Blackheart kind of had nothing to do with him. He was done. He had betrayed him. He didn't give him a second thought until much later in the book. And here, there really is no animosity between them. Boldheart is a lot more gentler, he's kinder, he's friendlier. He's been labeled as a villain instead of just accepting the villain title and embracing it to get what he needs done. He's framed and he's hurting, and he is hurting that Golden Loin thinks he's now a villain and he killed the queen. Again, it shows a much different thing. There is no fight scene between them or misunderstanding. It's more of like, why would you do this? You know I would never hurt you. I love you. It was a lot more emotional, a lot more gentler type of relationship. And perhaps because the theme of the movie was changed, they wanted to have a less animosity in their relationship and more gentleness and kind of that more of queer audiences are looking for when they want to see couples on screen. Not them fighting, but them getting along and reconciling and being happy, which worked out because they had a happy ending in the movie anyway. It's a lot different from the book. Let's say very different. For the book, it kind of had it like they were starting over and becoming friends again before getting into a relationship, while the movie just kind of just goes ahead right into the relationship, I guess, for the ones who just wanted to see it happen instead of waiting.
Right. And at the end of this movie for Nimona and Boldheart, there's a different outcome as well.
Right. It's sort of, like we said, it's sort of like Monsters, Inc. in a way, if you know how that movie ends. They kind of do the same thing in here, and like I said, part of it is actually a good thing because we wished it was a more happier ending in the book with Nimona. Although it was funny how she pretended to be the doctor, and then when the real one came in and said, "Who did these charts? Everything's wrong. Why are the picture of sharks all over the board?" But I do like that it's a happier ending in the movie, and like I said, it leaves the door open to a sequel happening that never happened for the book,
or even a series. That would be
right.
good too.
Maybe
where you get an expanded story,
right, and maybe adapt more of the comic in there that they didn't get to do before, and just kind of rearrange it to like, hey, something else is going on in this place that wasn't featured in the movie, and then get to the conspiracy and everything, and that would be just as great too, since they're known for doing a lot of spin-off series from popular movies now.
Absolutely. So if you've seen the movie Nimona exclusively on Netflix, let us know what you think in the comments below. We're sure you've seen it, Sean. Can't wait to hear what you think. And if you haven't seen it, we would really be surprised. But if you haven't, it's available on Netflix to stream. Again, exclusively. Give it a watch. Come back and let us know what you think. Also, don't forget to watch our podcast on the original webcomic adaptation into a book that we covered in yesterday's podcast. Give it a read as well. We recommend it highly. It's a fantastic comic to read.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And go watch Nimona.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Let's break stuff.
Promise I'm your official sidekick forever and ever. No take-backsies.
Can you just be you?
I don't follow.